Let's start the recording. Get started. Yeah, we'll go over some Bitcoin, some ETH, right? No point looking at many alts. We'll spacebar through some, but not really. And we'll look at stocks because that's where the money is right now, stocks or just shorting random cryptos. Mad Villain, welcome in. Hey Rudy, how you doing? But yeah, guys. So I've been really busy, especially the last like 4 days. I've been so busy because we're trying to do our soft launch for the new restaurant this Wednesday that's coming up, so literally in 2 days time. And I still need to like do the bar up and stuff, right? I've done bits of it. I've taken the old wooding off. I've put the put like some fresh wallpaper on with really nice like oak shelves where I'm gonna put some nice lighting on it. It'll look nice. And apart from that, like, just been fixing up tables and chairs, putting the decorations up, like the carpet's all done, the wall panels all done. So but still a few things left to do, which is why I've been so busy. But yeah, the soft launch we're trying to do this Wednesday, if we can fit it in. If not, it's what it is, but it'd be nice to get it done by this Wednesday. So I'm just working my ass off with that in mind. That plus managing the current restaurant as well, like, because that's obviously it's Christmas time, right? It's super busy right now. So yeah, I've got like, I feel like running around like a headless chicken, just got like no time to breathe. Yeah, we'll look at platinum, silver, tin, everything, Jasper. Yeah, we'll look at that. This one is going to be a Thai Nepalese fusion, Jordan, bro. It's going to be a fusion restaurant. In this restaurant, I'm going to put more like creative recipes out compared to like a traditional, basically. But yeah. Yeah, I haven't even done the upstairs bit yet. Like turn it into like a karaoke room, put a billiards thing in. I asked the like accessory area. I thought that'd just be dumb if people are coming in drinking and then when no one's going to be there to supervise 24/7. That's like that's a walking case. That's someone waiting to sue happen, right? Someone's going to sue me one day. So I thought, no, I'm just going to turn it into like a nice karaoke room instead. Put a nice like billiards table up, like a really nice speaker system, so on and so forth. So people can just go in there, vibe. I have like a karaoke kind of place. So I can put like the relevant walling up, like the soundproof everything. I can do that, but that's going to be like maybe January next year, after I'm back from Nepal. So not yet. Just going to get the soft launch done this Wednesday, and then do like a proper hard launch after I'm back from Nepal next year. But yeah. That's also why the new batch hasn't started yet. By the way, I know Rudy's one of the people doing the new batch. There's Mohammed and then there's Leah as well. There's 3 people now. I'm really sorry about that, Rudy. I know we said we'd start by December. It's just this restaurant opening is taking a bit more time than I thought. So I don't want to open one and then like do one session and then be like a 3 week off before I do the next one. So I thought I might as well just start here like a month later or something, and then just once everything's done, that way I can just be consistent with it. But yeah. But yeah, apart from that, everything else is good. Really busy, which is good, right? Because if I wasn't busy and I was looking at this crypto price action, I'd be tearing my own hair out of boredom. It's looking absolutely dog shit. Not even in the sense that the markets look crap. We know the markets look terrible for a little while. The crypto market anyway. It's just the price action, right? We're ranging like so tightly. This is just compression. But one sec. Let me share my screen and we can get started. Mohammed, welcome in, brother. Okay, first things first, real quick look at Bitcoin. What have we done? What are we doing, right? That right there is lower time frame, so we can get rid of that. These were lower time frame ranges, we can get rid of that. Okay, there we go. What do we have on the higher time frame? Of course, we know we've got our historical price ranges, right? I'll put them on fresh here. So this is, as it stands, this is the proper historical price range right now. There's your current range breakouts, there's your current macro range, and then there's also, of course, your just typical historical price ranges right here. There's your key inflection areas on the screen, right? And of course, we know we do not want to be below HPR 9 mid, right? We don't want to be below this. We want to be above it. So let's see what the end of the year brings. At this stage, like yearly close is going to be very telling. Let's see what yearly close brings, but we do not want to be below HBR9 mid, because if we are, it's a matter of time, as we all know, until what happens. We go and visit KFA R8 to R9 this time around. And I do think this will happen. The more we spend around here, if we go and truly turn this to resistance, I do think this is now your next target, right? It's going to come at one point, as long as we stay below this. Your saving grace right now literally has been your previous 6 months of this year, right? The 6-month mid. That's been the one sole reason you've kept defending this area. If we lose the HPR9 mid, which you're doing right now, right? And we also, like if you go and look at the sub, for example, the 4 hours, that's a engulfing candle all the way down. No bearish back test or anything yet. So if on the lower time frame you get that move up and you start bearishly back testing this, right, filling that gap, and you can't get above, your range would be between basically that mid to 83,948. Right? Because if you lose this, your next range you're saying is between 83 to 74, right? And even lower, because the actual key inflection area is between 73,757 and 64,898. So if you're still wanting that Santa rally, right? Because that's the one word I've heard being said a lot this in CT and stuff. And of course, it's December. It's going to be, right? It's going to be a buzzword. If you're wanting that, there's no two areas around it. You want to be above this historical price range 9 mid. You want to be above it. Look, there's very clear resistance. There's very clear support here, right? You want to be building above it. More than that, you want to go and get above 93k. We don't have a proper Santa rally, and I'm talking to like 100k targets, right? I'm talking like high 90s, like 98s to 100s. We don't have those targets in the bag until we go and get above this particular group right over here. We just don't have it, right? So we have a tight range right now. You're still above your 2025 6-month buy zone mid, but this is just ugly price action, and this is one of those like low liquid price actions, right? Majority of it's been low liquid. Of course, there's going to be moments where like the market makers flare up, and all the market makers start dumping winter mute, so on and so forth.
Slightly different.
One sec. Sorry, I'm gonna mute someone.
Well.
There. Okay. So we have the key levels haven't changed. No new levels have been put in. We're gonna get fresh yearly buy seller zones once 2025 closes, right? But we still have like 17 days until then, right? So 17, 18 days. So yeah, right now the line in the sand is 83,948. Like that's the one thing you want to defend, right? And of course you've got that liquidation wick mid as well, right here. So this is what you do not want to lose. If you want a shot at eventually, like you're creating this range and you want to go and stop all of those people out, so on and so forth. You want to grab that liquidity. You want to get that Santa rally. You don't want to get below this 83,948 to 83,734. Right? Simple. You get below that, you're pretty much targeting 70. The 70Ks in my opinion, right? The 70K targets. So but overall, this has just been like liquidity hunting, right? We're building a range. We're taking the highs out, we're taking the lows out, taking the highs out, taking the lows out. That's what we're doing. I did see Ronnie put a chart up last night, proper late, where she had an M shape, and I don't remember if I actually had this on my screen, but it's a very nice M shape. That is right over here. That is a very nice bat, right? We do have an M shape completion there. And this, you could try and view this as a type 2 return, right? That's one thing I will say. You could try and view it as a type 2 return. And if we do not get this retest here, if they go and give us bullish divergence with the sort of reclaim some sort of smiley face structure down here, that would be nice to see, right? I think that's what she put down as well. But right now, this is just ugly. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's just ugly. This is... Yeah, you'd think after a steep pullback, we've had that 30% plus pullback from all-time highs, right? There you go. 36% drop. You'd think, okay, well, let's see if volume can come in, buyers can go and reclaim key levels, so on and so forth, right? That's what you'd want to see, right? That's what happened previous times. Like, yeah, we were coming down, but the reclaim, it was swift, right? After we were done bottoming, we put bullish divergence in, reclaim key levels, and then we were on our way, right? We're just not getting that yet, right? It could still come in, but we can only go off what's in front of us, and in front of us, this right now is looking ugly. A part of me still hopes that we do go and take those 100k targets out before we go lower, right? These shorts are going to have it really easy otherwise, of course, right? I just don't see that happening. But below HBR 9 mid, right, at the end of the day, you just got to frame it like this. Below this, there's a shot that you play this range. Above this, there's a shot at the end of the day that you play this range, right? And until one of those two come to pass, all we have now is like a low liquid environment, just consolidation. And highs getting taken, lows getting taken in a local range. So it's just a matter of what do we get first. Do we get the lows first? Do we get the highs first, right? Maybe we go and hit the actual 886, put like a bullish divergence in, and then, you know, that's a type to return. Maybe we hit T2 and then drop lower, right? That could happen. But yeah, until then, let's just see. Like there's nothing, literally nothing, right? The reason I'm not going to give any crypto signals recently, it's been a while, is because there's nothing to give. Right? The market's like this. You know, sometimes not doing anything is the best thing, right? There's no point trying to blow up an account, trying to, like, you know, give signals when this is the price action we're getting. This is nasty. This is, you know, sometimes doing nothing is the best course of action. Hence why we just wait until we deal with an actual clear hand, right? You know, the scalps to be taken, of course, when you go to yearly levels and you see SFPs, right? That's a different matter. But in terms of, like, you know, are you going to swing Bitcoin here, so on and so forth? Why not just wait for clearer structure, right? But yeah, let's see how this develops over time, right? That's BTC. We do have an M shape, right? We do have an M shape, and this we could get a type 2 for that M shape, but whether that type 2 leads to anything substantial or not is yet to be seen, right? This right here, by the way, in case you're wondering, that's a weekly buy-seller zone together. That's the mid of that's what we kept projecting off of, as you can see. So that's that. Let me delete that for now. There's your 6 month, and of course we've got other 6 month targets. We've got yearly targets. It's the same levels we've always been looking at, right? So if you want to trade lower time frame, you want to scalp, just play level by level. Once you get to a significant area, just look at what kind of price action you're interested in, and then just pull the trigger based on that. Right, that's it. But that's BTC. Let's look at Ethereum as well, real quick. If anything, I think ETH looks better than BTC, to be honest. I say that, and you go to the weekly, right? I say that, and you go to the weekly, and the daily looked better. That's still a nasty candle, but again, HBR4 rejection, right? That's a HBR4 rejection. So overall, the range below HBR4 you're dealing with is this range right over here. The key inflection areas are off right now, just so you can really visualize this, right? There's your range below HBR4. That's the range you're dealing with. But even within that range, you do have this, right? So you could split this into one range here, and if you turn this into resistance, that's when you focus on this range down over here. So very easy to visualize on Ethereum what's going on over here, right? As long as you're below this. Overall, that's the range, but you can split into two different ranges, between the black dot here and the yellow, and between the yellow and then the bottom of the HBR4 box. We can split it into those. In fact, one thing I can do here, actually no, that's fine. The other one would be from here. But ETH against BTC, right? Let's see how that's holding up. This right here. I don't like the look of that particular candle over there, right? You don't want to start seeing weekly candles like this, because the more something like this happens, the more you have to think, okay, are we simply carrying on with the high highs and the high lows, or are they starting to like distribute, and are we actually going to get some sort of lower high, and we're going to start, like, you know, going even deeper? Right now, I wouldn't say there's anything like super worrying on ETH against BTC. Like the monthly looks insane still. That monthly looks good, right? That monthly looks really, really good. No matter how you look at it, whether you look at it just based off this, you know, buy-seller zones and volume profiles, whether you look at it off the fact that, you know, the monthly fair value gap has been inverted, right? Monthly looks insane for ETH against BTC still, right? Which still makes me think, like, you know, give it, you know, until maybe the start of 2026, sometime within quarter one of 2026, perhaps. I do think ETH still outperforms Bitcoin based on the data we have so far, right? That is what I would have to conclude looking at the ETH against BTC chart. High time frame still looks good. The trend is still holding, right? You're above your macro point of control, you're above 12-month seller zone mid. So, you know, we're going to go sideways, we're going to chop around a bit, of course, because remember, this is not a pure contract now, right? This is a synthetic contract. This is comparing the strength between Ethereum and Bitcoin. So as long as this looks bullish, eventually I do think Ethereum is going to start outperforming Bitcoin. Whether that's in the percentage of the value it retains, or whether that's in terms of how much liquidity actually rotates into it. But that weekly candle, again, that implies that we're probably going to stall a bit, chop a bit more before any sort of serious directional move is given to us. But again, make no mistake, the monthly, right? The monthly looks insane. The what was on earlier was the 2 months. Sorry, the what was on earlier wasn't the monthly, it was the 2 month. The 2 months also looks good, right? It looks very, very good. So I think it's a matter of time on this one. Higher time frame, like in higher time frame, has time to do its thing on ETH against Bitcoin, basically. So it's a bit weird saying this, but you don't want to get completely lost in the weekly source either, right? Because in the case of this, like if you look at how the 2 month looks and look at how the monthly looks, so on and so forth. Like the monthly, obviously, we've got a little SFP going on right now, but that's still a high low in the making, right? And a monthly candle like this doesn't really mean much when you're above your monthly buy seller zone, which is right here, as you can see. Retested it, held, you're above it, right? So as long as you're above this, the following ones can very easily build above, and then you get the expansion to the upside. Maybe Q1 of 2026, who knows, right? But ETH against BTC still looks very, very good. It looks insane. So for that reason, I can't be like entirely looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, everything's ready to absolutely turn around and die yet. Because again, I don't need to keep saying it. Just look at that. This doesn't look bearish right now, right? If you want this to be bearish, like you'd want to see something like this with a bearish divergence, right? And then like inverted smiley, or you want to see like a collapse to some sort of lower high, something like that would be bearish, right? Right now, the structure we're getting, this isn't bearish. Not yet, anyway. I don't want to jinx it, but not yet. So yeah, that's ETH against Bitcoin. Another one to look at is Solana, because this one is on its last legs. I'm not even joking when I say that. Take a look at Solana. Insane, right? Look at where it is, and it looks like it's actually trying to lose that said level. Let me get rid of this and this. It's old charts. They get rid of this. Old levels. Below. Just understand, below 126, we head down towards 90s, right? So this is a very big possibility on Solana. You just don't want this. Like, you do not want your 12 month to close below, I'd say below 133.96. You don't want to close below that. Hopefully you close above it, right? But at a minimum, you want your yearly close, your 12 month close in 16 days time, you want it to be above 126.15. The reason I say this is because, look, the previous time we read this area, it was 2023 high, right? This is also the 23-24 12-month buy seller zone high, so on and so forth, right? That's the 2023 high right there. In fact, I'm going to go there, and I'm just going to redo this to 2023 high. That's just easier if I do that. Then, of course, 2024 gave you a big breakout. Right, 2020 gave you a breakout, and 2025 finally on a yearly basis you have had a retest. You have had a retest of 2023 high, right? You've had a retest of the 2023/2024 12-month buy seller zone mid, and you haven't gone as far as the low, but you've also touched the 2022 12-month macro week seller zone mid. Right, so a lot of yearly levels have been tapped on this retest. If you can close above this, again, what would your next logical target be? Well, if you look at the yearlies, your next logical target, if you close above this, would be back towards 169 to 179, right? In terms of candles, that'd be your next logical step. If you close above 126, you would think, oh, maybe we get some sort of little rally up until 169, so on and so forth, and then we can reevaluate and see what happens next. But if you close the year below 126.15, and when the new year opens, buyers attempt to get above, but then the sellers see the opportunity they have here and they start slamming the supply down. That's just that much tougher of a bias to reclaim this. And if they can't do it, guess what? Then, you're talking about 78, you're talking about a potential 50, so on and so forth, right? Those all then become completely valid targets to go down towards. So for that very reason, all eyes on 126.15 for your yearly close on Solana. Right? I really hope we close above this. Ideally, we close above 133.96, but if we do not, I'm not going to say anything else, right? We'll just take it from there, and then after the yearly close we'll reconvene and we'll be like, okay, what's the next likely steps? We'll talk about it that way. But I don't need this yet. Don't need this. It's been an insane run, but this right now, right? This looks nasty. This looks terrible. So let's hope that buyers can come in, even if we get some sort of liquidity rate to the downside. Hang on, let me take a look. Is it because... okay, wait, no. Let me do this. Let me go to Binance. Let's see what kind of data we've been getting at this particular area. One sec, guys. We just got average true length. Okay. Okay, so we know there's a lot of aggressive selling going on. The question is, are they being vindicated? Okay, so let's take a look, right? Hang on. First, let me figure out real quick why I've got this here to begin with. Why have I gone and put 6 month? Okay, yeah, that's a 6 month buy zone, so that's fine. 6 month area. And let's just put a random area down. There we go. Right. Okay. Right, this is the area we're interested in. We know we need this to hold, right? So let's take a look. We know aggressive selling is going on, but what can we really see? What can we really see, right? Let's zoom in. What do we see? So let's do come on, man. Must be this one, no? Why is it not showing up? One sec, guys. This is messing up. Oh, that's why. What the hell is this? Buy volume, sell volume. Let's go delta. Okay. So let's take a look, right? At the price action that's we've gotten ever since we've come down to these lows. Very good delta, right? Positive delta, a sign that buyers came in. The first time we visited these lows, a very good sign that buyers came in, right? Very good sign buyers came in, but then now the candle didn't reflect that. Massive negative delta, and the candle certainly reflected that. Not to the best of his abilities, in the sense that passive buyers were still active, right? But it's reflected that. Now we have this candle here where there was again huge amount of aggressive selling, right? There were way more sellers over buyers, and that's reflected right now. This candle definitely reflected what the actual market participants are trying to tell us. And last but not least, this particular candle that we've got 6 days and 3 hours left to close. We have, look at the amount of selling that's going on. Like it's stacking up as we talk, right? An insane amount of aggressive selling is currently opening up. Of course, the weekly candle hasn't closed yet. The question is, by the time this week closes, are these aggressive sellers rewarded, or will they end up being trapped? That's what we're looking for. If you want this to be bullish, right, at this particular stage, I'd want a flush of all of these, right? I'd want these to get flushed, something like this, but then like a wick up to close above these. That would be insane, right? In the face of all the aggressive selling, if we see that close up and the point you close above point of control, so on and so forth, that's what you'd want to see. For trap traders, for aggressive sellers not being rewarded, and for passive buyers taking that supply off the market, right? That's what you want to see. So we'll take a look at this again on Solana when the week ends, right? But this is, if buyers ever had a area where they had to show what they're made of, this is it on Solana. Because if not for this, you're going to slip to 90s extremely fast on Solana. And that is going to be an ugly drop. That's going to be a further 23% drop across the markets. Well, not across the markets, but in this case Solana. But if this is happening on Sol, that just means everything else is also probably going to be falling off a cliff at the same time, right? So we have that sell side imbalance down over there, for example, you know, acting as another confluence for why we could go down there. We know we've got yearly levels. So you're not going to be surprised if we start hitting those, right? So we need buyers to step in here. We absolutely need buyers to step in here. There's no other two ways about it. But yeah, Solana looks insanely ugly right now. That looks ugly. But that also means, especially again for those of you that are looking to scalp, right? Whether that's tick based or whether that's time based, you have your levels. If you're looking for high ROI opportunities, anytime this is holding as support, you are trying to take that play, Right, you're trying to take it to the next level. You get above 126, you get insane entries for some nice moves up. And so anytime you're above this, you know, more often than not, you get some volatile moves to the upside again if you flip it into support, right? So, you know, you've got this very tight level where you can very easily scalp on the lower time frame, right? Whether that's tick-based entries or whether that's time-based entries. So right now, for example, the bids are coming in to try and defend the 125 area, as we can very clearly see. Per 1,000 contracts that's being traded, it's been going to the upside, right? So the 1,000 contracts traded here, to the upside, chop, chop, chop. Looks like it's ready to resolve to the upside again. Lower time frame, it's trying to, you know, it's trying its best to hold the area. We need that to translate to the higher time frame, though. That's my point. But yeah. So let's see what we get. Nasty sell-off, right? Insanely nasty sell-off, and of course the fear is that we know we've got a volatile week coming up, right? December was always going to be a volatile month. It's the end of the year. It's the end of the biannual, right? So it's another 6-month close. You've got a 3-month close. You've got a 4-month close. We had a lot of, like, you know, the events as well. Like, you know, we have so many, like, you know, data coming out. We've got the talks, so on and so forth. Japan's meant to be hiking rates, so on and so forth. There's just so much uncertainty, right? So it's not a surprise that things like this are happening. But if buyers can defend these floors even in the face of all that, and we can clear that to go into New Year, and we close above, like I said, the line of the sand we talked about earlier, right? We can close the year above 126.15 and ideally 133.96. I would think going into January we probably see a nice pump across the markets. If we can hold this by the time year closes, minimum 126.15 and ideally 133.96. If we can close above that, going into January, I would actually expect us to try and target, like, to the upside, right? Moves 169, 179, so on and so forth. So let's see how this plays out, right? I've been talking about this all a bit too long now, but just wanted to say, even though this is extremely risky in terms of, like, you know, this is where market makers are going to try and shake you out. This is where structure matters, right? This is where the key levels are that you need to hold. But this is also where, again, especially on the lower time frame, you're going to get some really good opportunities for some insane plays, right? The frequency of your trades and also the, let's say, the volatility of your trades, you can get some really nice trades off, especially on the lower time frame for those of you scalping within these areas. You're sandwiched within key areas right now. As long as you can hold it, you've got literally a range right over here, right, on the lower time frame, and then a bigger range right over there as well, of course. So firstly, if you take the range lows and you reclaim, you'd be looking for the range highs next. Well, of course, the mid first. The mid's going to line up around 133, but you get above that, range highs is here, so on and so forth. You guys get what I'm trying to say, right? So scalping wise, you've got loads of opportunities in this area. Higher time frame wise, you are sat there, you know, clenching with everything you have, hoping that buyers defend this area, because if they don't, this is going to nuke. Right. Sorry for saying that so many times. I just want to reiterate, if we cannot hold this, Solana has a potential 30% drop loading, and that could be very, very quick. Look, anytime we've lost this seriously, like not been wicks, you're talking volatile, like, you know, 13% drops, and if you actually hit the next key target this time, you're talking something like 18% to a potential, you know, look at the range, right, all the way down to 37%. So just bear that in mind below this on Sol, right? But that is Solana. Do you have any Hopium here? 0.5. One sec. Just take a look. Yeah, we could do that from here, or we could just do this. In fact, that's the better option. Maybe you go and hit the 886, right? If everyone's going to be waiting for, you know, let's say $90, so on and so forth, maybe you raid this local range low, hit the 886, fill that buy seller zone right over here. Okay. That'd be a target. So you can go set that up, basically 2.618 and an 886 there in the form of a completed M shape. So you can go and see, like, you know, if you go here and buys defend and you start seeing, again, aggressive sellers attempted to come in, but then, you know, you see the buyers are defending, you see there's trapped sellers, so on and so forth, then that could be that to a reclaim, and then we could go back higher, front running that, you know, obvious target everyone's looking at. That's something that could happen. But all of that talk is of course below 126. Let's see if, you know, by the time the day closes tonight, let's see how we close. Can we survive? Can we survive to 510 of the day? We're just gonna close tonight below 126 and just absolutely nuke it straight to 886 by tomorrow morning. Let's see. Right, there is a wave structure there, 2.618 and 886. So if you'd want to see reactions there. If this is going to be the extent of the move and we're not actually going to go much lower before we perhaps go higher, then this is where I'd expect it. But if you don't see any reactions here, you're going to get that fall. I wouldn't be surprised by like a $78 Solana at that point. Big range here. Yearly levels, all yearly levels, right? So just set some alerts up and see. You don't need to rush into on a higher time frame trade here. A lower time frame, you're not rushing into anything. Lower time frame's about just get in and out. But higher time frame, you don't need to rush into anything. So that's BTC, ETH, Sol, and ETH against BTC, right? So next, that's enough doom and gloom. Quickly check back to the chat. Yeah, I can do a checklist. $8 support for Sol. Sol on the weekly on log. And there's a trend line from the start of the coin until now. Okay, let's take a look, bro. Let's see what you are seeing. Let me turn these off real quick. That's gone. I'm just gonna put that there. One sec. That shark gave an insane reaction, by the way. I know we were looking at that before, right? That shark was an insane reaction, but it's done now. So turn that off. Okay, so let's take a look, right? If we go to log, the first one I see has already been broken, but that's not a surprise. So the first one would be that. The second one would be, if you're talking from the extremes, the second one would be from there to there. They didn't even give us a bearish backtest in that regard. The next one would be from here to here. They did give us a bearish backtest in that regard, right there, right? We couldn't break back above. And the last one, the most, for now, the one that is the most recent, let's say the extreme, would be that. Bearishly retested all of those in that last move up, right? And then dropped down here. Now one could make an argument for what about if we did this and this? 2 taps. Yeah, this looks nasty. Everything's just being broken. So for now, this is your extreme. This was the last extreme, so I'm going to make it red in terms of confirmed price action, because we don't know when this is going to bottom now, right? So yeah, in log, this looks, yeah, this doesn't look good. It looks nasty. There's multiple. I'm sure that, you know, people you can argue there's multiple ways you can place these. Like, you know, you could do one from here to here, so on and so forth. But no matter how you look at it, yeah, we have indeed lost. That would be the most extreme of cases, would be this one, but then again, I'd say that's proper bear market talk, right? Like $56, $61. There's a reason why that could happen based on that trend line there. So I'll leave that one over here as well, and I'm going to color this one like a bright yellow or something so it stands out. But yeah, mostly, yeah, you're right in the sense that, you know, we've lost many trend lines. Yeah, just this doesn't look very good. It just doesn't. It's a very simple way to visualize it. It's just literally a range, right? So the range, you could argue, is this. This was the original range before we started chopping up and down, right? So you had a little range here. It came up, created this range, created this low. That was a rate of that said low, right? You know, you could do this if you wanted to. You could do this if you wanted to. Like, no matter how you do it, we do have a very tight range here. Anything above, so that all of that is manipulation, right? All of that's manipulation. All of that is also manipulation. So if that's the case, we're at the lows of the said range, right? We're at the lows of it. Anything below this we can deem to be manipulation, or anything below this. So, you know, it's manipulated a couple times before. So let's see. I mean, if you want hopium, you could always argue for this. If you can form a base here, why not, right? But that is so that seems so out of touch right now. It's just something to consider. Here's the matter of facts. Solana looks ugly, yes. However, we are at yearly supports right now. This is not the place for you to be maxing out that leverage meter and thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to short my entire house because I missed a move down. Surely I'm not going to miss the next move down, right? You don't have a good short here currently. Lower time frame is a different thing, okay? We all know, I don't need to keep saying it to you guys, you're all educated in terms of the matter here. You do not have a higher time frame short here on Solana currently. You could, if you're going to take a higher time frame approach, right? If you're going to take an approach for what is the trade you should be looking for right now, if you breach the levels we were talking about, it's going to be shorts. If you don't breach those said levels, you wouldn't be surprised if, however, you did bounce from here. Even if we got some manipulation, like we know that's common. It's very, very common. We could get some more stabs down to this area, but if you can defend this area with closes, the argument here right now is this, okay? So let me walk you through this. So for those of you that are hoping for a bullish argument, we haven't had a single candle body close below this range that wasn't manipulation. We're viewing this as a big manipulation right now. Right, we're viewing, if you're talking smiley face, is your initial support, radon liquidity. If this is the reconfirmation of support, you could be having that spring back test scenario going on right now, right? But for that to be valid, you can't go and start closing weekly candles and such, because the time frame we're on right now is the weekly. You can't go and start closing weekly candles below this, right? You want wicks, but closes above, sort of like the left here, to give you the strongest argument for why we could potentially target the 160s again and maybe even go for the range highs, right? You want weekly wicks if you're going to get any closes above, right? One is fine like this, like maybe like a close below that gets immediately engulfed. Something like that would be bullish, right? But what you don't want is a slow bleed out, close below, attempt to get above, close below again, then attempt to get above again with a bearish back test. You don't want things like that. If you get that, this thing is cooked. We're going all the way back down to 70, right? This is the next range you'd attack. So again, you got to be careful here because you know you don't have an easy short here. You don't. There is no especially on the lower time frame is different, but the higher time frame you do not have an easy short where you currently are, right? But you don't have an easy long either because emotionally and mentally, right? Unless you're absolutely just numb to the markets now, and you've got to the stage where you don't give a fuck. You're just there with a system. It's going to be very hard for me to be like, okay, guys, I want you all to open up your brokerages and go and put everything you have into Solana right now. Even though logically, if you keep holding this level, the best thing you could do is probably get some spot Solana, because if you close below, you just get rid of it, right? That's it. So if you're thinking higher time frame, right? If you're not leveraging, or if you want to look for isolated swing longs, so on and so forth, you have an area here where you can get it off. Hopefully you guys see what I mean, but you got to wait for that price action confirmation. You can't rush into it. I'd rather you guys be a bit later to the entry, right, than be a bit too early in a moment like this. Let's see, right? Let's see. Do we get the rate? Do we hold? Let's see what the weekly close brings, daily close brings, so on and so forth, right? Yearly close is coming up. There's not much rush. The 886 looks very, very likely, right? The 886 looks insanely likely. So perhaps we get a wick to the 886, some sort of chop, and then we reclaim, and then we look ready to go above. If something like that happens, great, right? But just understand where you currently are. There is no easy short to be had here. Looking at the timeline, you'd think everyone's like, looking at the way everyone's talking, you'd think, oh yeah, so easy, just short everything right now. That's not the case, not where we currently are. Everything's a higher time from yearly supports still at the end of the day. 6-month yearly supports, right? Good luck shorting support and getting away with it. So yeah, if you want to have one simple line in the sand in terms of structure as well, just look at it in that manner. There's your range you've been chopping around in since 2024, right? In fact, in 3 months' time, maybe 2 years that you've been within this range. So let's see what happens. Okay, so that's Solana. Okay, so crypto we know looks insanely cooked right now, right? We've been talking about this. We've been talking about this since we got that bearish back test all the way up over here, right? Because that breakdown, and then you start getting the lower highs, and then boom, things like this. We've been saying this looks, yeah, up above this was all fine. You had so many bullish arguments above this, but not with this happening anymore, right? So this is just a result of, again, just that, right? We had a bearish back test, distributive structure, and we've broken below. Again, this is not just on Bitcoin either, you don't have like an easy short here. You add higher time frame supports, right? Yeah, higher time. You have your yearly just 6 month just below you. Historical price range media below, sure, but the 6 month at the end is still below you. Bitcoin is one where we have already completed an not a full 886, but basically an 886, right? So again, in the midst of a higher time frame M shape in development since April of 2025, this could very well be a type 2 return, right? This could very well be a type 2 return. So survive. If you're in and you know, hopefully like many people have cash, right? Should have cash. We've been talking about this ever since we updated the challenge account a few months ago. We should have a lot of cash. If you don't, but you're in spot, you're still way better off than the people who are in underwater longs, or just, like you see every week, bro. You see like 100 million liquidated from cryptocurrency markets. You gotta wonder, where the hell is all this money coming from? Do they not learn their lesson? There's a moment to go like, oh, insane, let me just go and open up a leverage account and just long everything because it looks so good. It's not the time. With leverage, you want structure to be on your side. Structure's not on your side for longs right now, like higher time frame swing longs, right? So even though you might be a support, the structure's not there yet to warrant opening up insane longs. So that's why you get this environment, because spot's doing nothing while leverage is getting chopped out left, right and center. And in fact, if anything, we've seen data that tells us like spot selling, long-term profit takings, like insane, right now. Long-term profit taking soared. You've got institutions buying things like Michael Saylor keeps buying, but look, it's not having an impact on the price, is it? At the end of the day, so there's a huge amount of selling going on as well. And let's be honest, like realistically, this probably has something to do with the 1010 wick, right? There's probably a lot of collateral that's still like not submerged to the surface yet. But yeah, let's just see, right? But anyway, that's enough of this. That was Bitcoin, that was ETH, that was Solana, that was Bitcoin against Ethereum. Let's now go on to stocks, right? Because while crypto looks dire, there's a reason I've not gave you guys much crypto signals in the group over the last like 2-3 months, especially. It's because there's nothing to give, right? Not much. But stocks, on the other hand, completely different thing, right? Stocks ports literally at all-time highs, thanks to the fact Lemonade went and hit the next high again. Right now it's coming down a bit, but that's fine, right? Let's go and switch over to stocks here. First things first, Lemonade still hasn't hit the 2.618, but he made a nice little attempt the other day, 11th of December, to do so, right? So Lemonade looks good. Does this look? I do think locally it looks a bit toppy. I wouldn't be surprised if we do go and raid something like this, but that's fine. Look, we've caught literally the move on this. We've caught the move. We've more than 2x our bag on this one, right? So this can do what it wants. We're risk free on this, right? Initial's already out, so this can chop around. If you raid and reclaim, that'd be if you missed the original move, that'd be a nice area to re-enter. Resistance, flip to support, so on and so forth. Otherwise, this can carry on going higher. It can do what it wants. We don't really care, right? But Lemonade looks good. Neo. Let me get rid of these for once. Here, I'm really hoping on Neo. First things first, where we currently are, we've already talked about this, but that is an 886, right? There you go. This right here is a bat. So the 886 completion right over here, that's the bat. And we hope that this holds, right? If you want to entry, right? If you're hoping this holds, we see some sort of smiley face coming in, aggressive sellers again not being rewarded, so on and so forth. We hope this holds. If that holds, you're looking for targets back towards $6 first, and then we could talk about the box again, right? But the interesting thing here isn't the local wave structure, it's the higher wave structures. If I turn that off, again, this is what we're looking at on Neo, right? On the macro, you have this massive M shape, right? 0.5886, that is a bat. That is a 618, that is a bat, right? So on a higher time frame basis, one day we really want to go and reclaim that bat, that 886. Right, that'll be insane confluence whenever we do. Eventually, if Neo goes to reclaim $8.70, just understand you're reclaiming a very, very important higher time frame wave structure, right? And of course, without that as well, we do have this, the one that's we've hit and completed right now, which is that 618, the 1.618, the 3.14. You have the crab, right? The 3.0, 1.618 is here, the 3.14 is right over here. This right here is your crab. And that crab, you haven't even hit T1 yet, right? So you're still within the structure itself. So a completed wave structure at pretty much range lows. Because if this is lost, Neo's going to go and take out his all-time low at $1, right? So if the 86 fails, where we currently are, I would want a revisit of these lows right over here. Revisit these lows. Again, we already more than doubled our money on NEO, right? Because the original entry was at the completion of the crab. So now, with the initials out, right? If this goes back down over here, I simply add whatever initial I took out, whatever money I have. I'm just gonna add it back. That's it. Just resize up, right? And then hopefully, eventually, you're targeting $10 to $11. Above that, you're targeting $16 to $17. And let's not get above ourselves and talk about $37, so on and so forth. I mean, but first, let's simply talk about the fact that we have that, right? That 38234 in terms of wave structure. As long as this wave structure is valid, that becomes a target for us to go to. So that's why NEO is also one to watch, right? Especially within 378 to 327, NEO is definitely something to watch. So risk-free on Lemonade, risk-free on NEO, right? Unity. Now I gave you guys this in the bunker the other day. What I was saying was, if we get a type to return on this at any point, right? Which I hope we do, because type 1s are nice, the M shapes, the W shapes are nice, but in terms of confluence and in terms of structure, type 2s are so much better, right? So what I'm hoping is we get that type 2 return to give us that lower high right around this particular area here, and that's something we can take a nice potential short off of, especially if we get various divergence on Unity, right? But otherwise, again, this is a completed butterfly, right? You have the 1.272, the 1.44. You've hit the hop of the butterfly. You've died. You're at T1 now. So if this holds at T1, you might go a bit deeper, remember, to the liquidity rate of the 382 or even the 0.5 sometimes. But eventually, if we do get that type to return, just understand we have a very beautiful short opportunity brewing on Unity. How does this get invalidated? Well, if you go and start flipping this entire PRZ into support, you don't short that, obviously, right? But for now, upon the completion of the set W shape, I have to obviously let you guys know that if you come up here, that's a very good opportunity to take a short, right? So keep an eye on that one for Unity, because what I really want on Unity, of course, is what I've been waiting for a long time now, right? We have accumulation, manipulation, so a retest of that distribution box low, anywhere between $28 to $24 in Unity would be an amazing buy. Just look at the structure. Need I say anything else? Validate the distribution box, get that one more sort of retap into this low, perhaps put bullish divergence in if it's possible. Low in price. No, weekly bullish divergence probably won't be possible from in terms of this. Probably wouldn't be, but who knows, maybe, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to get that smiley face structure if that low holds. So this could potentially lead you to get that, because again, the primary projection of this W shape is $23.15, right? I'm not saying this guy definitely hits, but again, that's the reason we play level by level. We have a framework. We have in our heads we have here that okay, this it might go down to this 1.618, right? There's 618s to 6.6s, so on and so forth. And if we do, it's going to be a big bid on Unity. I will be adding this, right? It was the sort of gap fill that sent us higher, but we never actually got the retest to the bottom of the accumulation box, basically. So maybe we get it, maybe we don't. It's what it is, right? But what we do have here again is a potential short opportunity on Unity. So you can literally just short this, CFD trading, right? On Trading 212, I'm just going to use the CFD account instead of the Stocks and Shares ISA account and just short it. Let me quickly check back to the chat. Yeah, sure, CJ. Okay, so next one, Estee Lauder. This one I wanted to touch because the other day we got something really nice on this. Right now it's looking like it's failing, but that's the first time we've attempted and successfully flipped the 102 2023 low, right? Something I was talking about for a long time. That was the first time we went and flipped that into support. If by the weekly close we still go and flip this 2023 low into support, don't be surprised if you see Estee Lauder rocket to 130. We've been talking about this for a long time. This thing has the most insane M shape you could think of. All-time low. To A to B is a 0.5. To a C that's a 0.5. To a D that is a 886 on the dot, by the way. Right? So Estee Lauder, we're in this for that very reason. It's been a slow one. Like I said, this is on your meme coin, right? These are actual stocks with actual companies, actual products behind them. So this can take a while to play out, but Estee Lauder looks good. If you're below 102, it's what it is. We might go and run these lows next, right? That could be a liquidation high. Sorry, that could be like a liquidation of anyone that was short before. Purge, let's say. If you come down and turn this into resistance again, that's your sign that, okay, we might go and purge this next, go back down towards the 70, so on and so forth, before we potentially go higher, right? But for now, let's see if we can get the weekly close above 102.22. It's not a good start to the week in the sense that we've lost it already, but hopefully by the end of the week, we're back above it. What else? Tesla, again, insane strength on Tesla, right? Ridiculous. The last entry I gave you guys was the BAM, right? The B point flip of the harmonic. That B point flip has yielded us so far, well, I mean, up to this high. That's a 64% move. The last entry, the 618, right? Literally, this is when we talked about it here, around the 10th of November. Even from that entry, it's a 25% move to the upside. So it seems like it's a matter of time until Tesla hits that 1.272, that 1.618. It's going to be a 2x basically from this entry on Tesla if we get this target. Again, like, you know, if Tesla just carries on ripping, because there's a few select stocks that's raising the market, Tesla's one of them, right? Elon Musk's net worth just keeps increasing. You know, what's to say we can't see this at $1,000 next year, right? Plus. So let's see what happens with Tesla. But Tesla looks very, very good. Rolls-Royce was the other one I told you guys about in terms of like if you wanted a short opportunity, right? So I said we'll wait for the weekly close before I decide, right? Weekly close below. Here is your area I'm interested in. So if we start losing this, that's your line in the sand right there. 1112 to 1106, right? As long as this is above this, I'm not interested in taking a short. But if I start to see weakness and I start to see this being turned to resistance, I'll be taking a short. Stop, literally easy to manage risk, right? Just if you get above this, you know you don't want to be holding this anymore. If you want to even tighter, if you start holding this into support, you know you don't want this anymore. But the idea here is you've had such a deep extension. That's the 2.618, right? Of your actual entire wave structure. You've far exceeded your 1.618 primary projection of the harmonic. If you see weakness here, this could be the start of something that eventually gives you a breakdown to reprice a bit lower before it resumes and picks back up to the upside, right? Again, easy to manage. So I know typically in terms of stocks, you know you use the word shorting, but you know whether you do calls and puts or whether you do just like traditional longs and shorts through like CFD trading, it's the same. Right, just here to show you don't have to make money just in one direction only. If you own spot Rolls-Royce, you know, which I do, I still have some in my main stock account, sorry. Then why the hell would I've already taken profits on that now? Why would I not hedge what I have remaining to the downside? This has been an insane run up, right? Why would I not hedge the remaining to the downside? So it's one of those ones, right? I'm not trying to be a contrarian. I'm not trying to say you need to go and short, you know, everything. But learning to short is very important, especially if you're going to survive as a trader, because you've got to be able to make money in a red market too, right? So below this, you have a very good argument for why short. Above this, right now, as of right now, right, looking at the charts where we currently are, will I short? No, because again, we're above. For now, we're attempting to get above, and we are above currently the area where I said I want to see weakness, right? So as long as we're above that, why would I short? So I just set an alert up in this area. There we go. And anytime this pings past, right, if we start going below and I see, okay, there we go, we're rejecting, we're closing, I'm just going to open that short up. Right? It's very easy because, look, my risk is virtually nothing. For something, this might take like a year or something to play out, but if you can capture a 36% move down on a stock over the course of like 8 months to a year, that's a beautiful hedge play, right? If not, you took a bet at the most logical area. No one's going to point figures and laugh at you if you take a short here based on actual system and based on why there's a reason for a short here, based on the fact you see a potential inverted smiley forming, and then it doesn't play out. It's what it is, right? That's the reason we have stop losses. It's a fair market. Not everything has to go your way. But if you're going to short this at any point, it's not going to be when trend hasn't broken, everything's to the upside. It's when the higher highs and higher lows has technically been stopped, right? And there's a potential for a lower high at an inverted smiley at key targets. These are the areas where you want to look for opportunities to either long or short, right? To catch the nicks of the move. So that's Rolls-Royce. BlackBerry, I've still got spots in this, even in the challenge account. Again, this is some of these coins like BlackBerry, like Tesla, like Rivian, right? We don't really need to worry about, right? The structures are there for these. We sort of just if you believe in it, or you see an opportunity, you just sort of buy and you just let it do its thing, just breathe. So yeah, look where it is, you just let it breathe. We're still green on this one. Rivian, now this is the one I want to look at because this had an insane move up, but there is one thing I want to tell you guys, which is this. Okay, so that is your weekly seller zone that we created on the close yesterday, right? Now if you take a look, what have we done so far at the start of the week? We've gone up, but that is a very clear, this looks almost like a tweezer top reversal. Okay, for those of you not familiar with that, it's a candlestick pattern, almost looks like a tweezer top reversal on the 4 hours. If you are below 1890 on Rivian, right, you have a very real chance of dropping back down towards 1757, and if you're below that, well, then $15 is once again where you go. Again, I am not worried about Rivian doing this because I trust not local moves, I trust the moves that's been built up by the composite man over time. Look at the structure we have. We have a completed M shape. We have compression. We have higher highs and higher lows. Someone's been bidding this since April of 2024. Right? It's been, it'll be near enough 2 years in 3 months' time. This structure's been being built up, right? So even if they pull it back here, who cares? Who cares, right? Bill it back, who cares? Give a high, low, I'll just size up. It's what it is. The structure's there. So for that reason, we don't need to worry about this. Even from the later entries, right? If you entered around, let's say, 16, something like that, right? You should still be up about 25 to 30%. So Rivian, this one, literally, when you have structures like this, right, higher time frame structures, this is not a scalp, this is a swing play. You've got to give it time. So the first attempt doesn't guarantee a breakout. So if this happens again, you can hedge short this. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be hedge shorting my Rivian bag, right? If we cannot get above this, if we get this, it's a hedge short, very simple. But what's the reason for a hedge short? The hedge short is simple. It's the fact that we've hit a 707 1.414. That's the ABCD, right? That's a very valid ABCD. It's the fact that we've swept these highs now, right? We've swept a lot of these highs, and we're for now SFPing. If there's going to be a logical reason to short, it's going to be here. And the main, of course, reason is, why leave a potential, who knows how much, even like a 30% drop? Why leave a potential 30% drop in the table without any sort of downside protection? So this is sort of like TPing without TPing. That's what a hedge is, right? You're just trying to lock in your unrealized at a similar level, basically. And if you're wrong, you'll know you're wrong because you'll start building above this again. You can literally just, you can either cut your short manually if you start building above 1901 again, or you can put out manual stop loss above 1960. It's completely up to you, right? We know that 1.618 target's there after all. But Rivian, on the higher time frame, right? Look, you just got to believe it. Look, all that FUD came in all of a sudden the other day about Rivian. I forgot what the FUD was, but it was on Twitter, right? All we did was previous gap fill, reconfirm your support, reconfirm the trendline breakout of support, and boom, straight up 15% in a day, right? So Rivian looks good. Couple SFPs for now, which could again lead to a pullback, right? So again, if anyone's in Rivian and you're up huge, right? Because I know some people here put size into this. If you're up huge and you want to take profits, don't wait for me, okay? We're not trying to, we might be trying to capture different time frames, different percentage moves. Don't wait for me. If you're going to take profits, take some profits. And you can always throw that profit back in and just slowly raise your average up if you start building above 1890 after all. If you have the means to hedge, right? But just understand, don't be surprised if you do get that pullback. And by no means is that pullback bearish. By no means. Don't fall in the trap thinking, oh, that's it, right? By no means is it bearish. Just believe in the structure you have in front of you. Just believe in the TA, right? That structure there on Rivian is absolutely gorgeous. There's no guarantees it's going to go up straight, right? Chop, another high low, that'd be beautiful, right? You go up, another higher low, back test of like the previous 618 or something, higher low. That'll, looking back at it, that'll be even better in terms of what we have on the chart, right? Displaced all of these, higher low, and then even higher. So, yeah. Rivian, higher time frame wise, is still fine. Lower time frame wise, you might get a pullback. So whether you decide to TP, whether you decide to hedge, you've been given the warning, right? That there's a very fine line in the sand here where we can very easily manage our risk to the downside. So that's Rivian. But let's see, INT. We've hit key levels we had drawn on. We drew this on around, I think, October-ish. I think it was Jasper who told me about INT, if I'm not mistaken. But no structure. I'm not going to bid until there's good structure. But keep an eye on this one. ClearSpark, Nice little sell-off. Nothing I like yet. Nothing actionable here. Nothing actionable. ENR. Who asked me about this? I think it was Mr. Happy Man. All targets hit. Look, 3.168. So again, this is the kind of thing where you look at this and you say, look, I know there's nothing bearish going on yet, but you start to form an idea. The idea for now is this. This is not you pulling the trigger. You're forming an idea. And then you start to pay attention. What's going on? What happened when we rated that 3.168 high? Right? What kind of price action did we get? Oh, would you look at that? That's a close below the point of control. Right? ATR, and I'm just going to make the point of control white. So actually, you have a very good argument now for a short. Right? As long as you're below that point of control, why would you be in a long? You've hit the max extension target of your wave structure. So then, boom. You can get your targets down, right? From A to D, you're saying there, your first target would be what? The 382. The 382, just eyeballing, would be somewhere around $70. So you know for a fact that there is shorts here. And the shorts were rewarded. The aggressive shorts were rewarded, right? Was there any market longs coming in? Well, let's take a look at the daily. What kind of price action did we get at the high? Nothing that's registered, so there's been no crazy market buying up here anyway. That's good. Whoever's trading this at least has some sort of sense. Better than what you see in crypto charts. Even on the 4 hours, right? Not much aggressive buying going on at the highs. What about the hourly? Some dots are coming in. There was a volume of aggressive buying going on. They're clearly trapped, right? But this is an example of something that has hit, look, all extension targets. So if you're going to, once again, if you're going to try and take a play on this, it's no longer going to be to the upside. Okay, this is fully done. In terms of move up, like if it decides to go high, it goes higher. You have no business trying to catch that from here. Good luck trying to catch it, rather. Let's take a look. What about if we did 342? That's too shallow, right? Yeah, so if anything, you're going to try and catch a short on things like these, right? It's like it's been going up and up and up and up. You might be able to catch a nice short to rebalance this before price goes higher again. But you're not interested in this to the upside. Good luck managing your risk here. You can try for a long if you go and flip that 3.168 into 3.618 rather, right, into support, right? But that's not happened yet. And until that happens, this is a short, not a long. You don't have to short right now. You can if you want, but you know these are the kind of things you'd be looking for. Extremes, right? Range extremes. Ooh, again, I think this was another one of yours recommendations, Jasper, a while back. So there's the level own price, which we know gave us bullish divergence. Again, aggressive selling going on, not being rewarded. Move back to the upside. All we're missing here now is some sort of right shoulder. Right, I'm not talking head and shoulders. I mean, if they give us a proper head and shoulders, great. But even if not, just a smiley face. If we get that here, UPS honestly doesn't look bad. Look where we are. 0.886, 2.618. That's the BAT PRZ. We know there's bullish divergence at these lows. As long as this BAT PRZ supports, again, your order block right now, which is why you're rejecting. But as long as this is supports, you bid this. You know, you could do something like start a position here, and then have a bit more if this order block is flipped to support, and add your final bid if you actually go and flip this into support, right? The trend line. But UPS looks good. UPS does look good for now. You're just interested in the structure builds here in UPS. Not interested. LLY just going to keep moving up. Again, this one we talked about here. Then we talked about this flip, right? Hang on, we didn't talk. I think it was this flip we talked about last. I was saying if you want an entry on this parallel channel mid flip into entry, we talked about that one around October. So that one's, you know, that one's again nothing to do here for now, right? There's loads of trap buying. This probably gets a pullback soon. BAYN, this one's up for us very nicely as well. This one was a huge look. T1's been hit, right? T1's been hit. So BAYN is up very, very nicely. Target one's been hit. If we can get that box, it's even better. If not, we can't be surprised now if this does give us a pullback. You've hit your first target. Okay, so if anyone got into BAYN, I know Sol did for a fact. I know Gig did. I know Ronnie did. But I don't know if anyone else did. But if anyone else did get into this, if you're going to take some profits, it's going to be here. There's your TP1. So just be mindful of that. There's a take profit target right there. If it fills into support, $49 comes next. But we have to be above the grey box for that. $49 to $51 comes next. One sec. There's that. There's AMC. That's fine. BHP. Yeah, I mean, I still think we get that 86 at some point, like I've been talking about, right? And then we can see what happens once we get there. ABTC. Yeah, nope. Gold, all-time highs incoming. Is what it is. That monthly. Gold. Yeah, gold's gonna put a new high in soon. MSTR. Insane draw, just no reaction whatsoever, right? So these can be deleted. One sec. These can be deleted here. Because those M shapes are no longer, yeah. This entire thing can be deleted. Into your next cluster. Mid of the cluster is what I'm interested in. MSTR, right. Bath and Body Works, not interested, just not good structure, right? This is just not good structure. Fresh, that's the other one we talked about. Nice little engulfing candle here today. But this, from the entry, this went up 20%, right? I was hoping you'd go and just challenge the supply line. It'd be nice, but it didn't for now. It's what it is. Like for some of these, like if you haven't taken profits, like, you know, you can still can. Otherwise, you know, if the money went up wasn't enough for you to warrant taking profit, just put your stop loss to break even, right? Don't want to go in the red. That's the thing. Goss, insane. This one I gave the same time as Fresh, right? We were saying, look, if you can reclaim that 34382, and of course this, then you enter into this territory, which is just okay. Well, let's go fill some of this up. Right, so there's just I don't see an entry in Goss here. Whether it goes up, the only entry had is around the grey box, right? Which is the scenario I gave when we last looked at this. You don't have an entry here. I'm not in Goss for the challenge account, right? Because I chose Freshworks over Goss. Well, for obvious reasons. Look at the risk management; it's so much easier. But Goss, this can carry on going higher from here. Just look to the left, right? The next visible thing you have is somewhere between $7 and basically like $5.70. So that is what you'd be targeting, like 565-ish. Metaplanet below the 886, like, you know, I'd want realistically this to go up, put some bullish structure in. Right now you don't have structure on your side, so I'm not really interested in this one. This one, originally I gave this when I was in Unity, right? And if anyone was there in Unity when I was still calling, like as an active analyst, this was one of the stock calls I gave around Unity. This since then, this has been up 451.73%. I know, like only 2 people who actually entered this back then. I don't know if they're still holding this, but this one was an insane move. It took a while, and that's the thing with like with the system. It's not about timing; it's about risk management, right? But at the end of the day, it did play out. 451.73% move up on Wolf. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Baidu. Then I have something for this. I believe it was something like. What did I have for this one? Baidu. I remember there was like a really nice like breakout retest. I believe it was on log. So why is it not showing up? That's weird. Not sure. Looking at it like this, I want to say, I mean, range lows move up. Your rejection of a supply zone right there. Yeah, until you get above this, Baidu's against some very heavy resistance. You'd want to see this at this particular stage. That sort of movement there. You're against this massive block here. But I'm keeping an eye on all these Chinese stocks, right? Richmond Robotics, let's take a look. I was eyeing up this potential 886. Yeah, I'm going to add an alert because I'll be very interested in this down at those areas. Because look, here's your initial M shape. You had a bat and a butterfly. There's your type 1. If that can give you a type to return which holds the floor, which is also like, you know, support here, resistance, support, you can see, then that'd be a nice bid, right? So RR's there. BTBT, there was a tight entry we discussed in the private video we did the other day. It wouldn't have played out if you entered that one, right? I'm not in BTBT myself, but if you did take this one, actually, yeah, one sec. Did that stop you out, or did it go to the wick? That's insane if it did. Yeah, that's crazy. That's literally insane. But yeah, this would have stopped you out if you put a hard stop. 6% down. Below this, you don't want to own it, is what it is. Either you get 196 or you just jump back in when this happens, right? But again, that's why we also exercise 20, 40, 40. You never go all in when the structure's not, when you still have resistance above you and structure's not on your side. Structure wasn't on our side here yet. So if you went 20, 40, 40, maximum you would have put in is 40%, for us 50% even for a 6% stop loss. So whatever percentage you put in, that's what you'd have been stopped out on. So it's what it is. So we just go back to the drawing board. If you hit 196, you reconsider there. Otherwise, until this is reclaimed, there's no point behind this, right? You want this to be reclaimed. You don't want it to be weak at the PRZ. XPEV, we talked about this one, but I forget what we said for this one. This one had a super tight stop loss on the potential entry I gave. I have a feeling that one would have been stopped out. I don't remember where it was. Where's it gone? No, it wasn't that one. That's an old one. Where is it? It'll be in the video, the private video I sent you guys, right? Just refer back to that one. I forget where it is because it's not this one. This is an older one. It's not this one. I gave one somewhere around here. But yeah. XPEV, one sec. AAL. This is coffee futures, right? If you can hold the smiley face, it looks good. If you can't, it looks cooked. Like, so again, make or break levels for coffee futures. CRE, what I was telling you guys was if you can flip the Deep Garley 86 into support, this has got legs, guess what? You never flipped it to support. So that's why you wait for that confirmation, right? We don't have it. But now we have a lot of aggressive selling, so let's see what the aggressive selling leads to. Now we have C3AI, massive PRZ where we are, look, ABCD 1.13, BAT 886, 6-month level. Listen, you don't have to be in yet, right? You don't have to be in yet. I've got a little bit of this, but this is the kind of place where you watch for the structure to come in. Bullish structure, smiley faces, accumulation, high lows over time, so on and so forth. Signs that there's someone visibly bidding this, right? This is the type of areas where you consider that. So keep an eye on that one. Snap, let's take a look. Here's a potential entry on Snap, there. Again, look where you are. There's your shark. You can think of this like the type 2 return to the shark, right? You've had a couple times. You wouldn't enter this here because this looks good. You'd enter here because you have a 6% stop loss for a potential, again, that's extreme target, right? Even just over here, for a potential 24% upside, and probably somewhere around, like the 618 probably can get hit at some point. So something like that. You don't have to be all in if you decide to go, let's say you decide to open this right now, you don't have to be all in yet. Based on that stop loss, you know, 40%, 50%, whatever, and then the rest you size up with that structure gets confirmed, right? Yeah, slowly grinding up on this one. Momo. This is one I gave in the server. I think the mid is holding. Yeah, Momo, aggressive selling not being rewarded yet. This one you probably have some sort of entry on. Oh, hang on. Weekly. I mean, that's. No, I wouldn't say it's bullish divergence yet. No. You give it a bit more time. But if you can form a base around this 618, you have a 1.618 potential to the upside, right? With that M-shaped completion and everything. So I'll keep an eye on this one. I'll let you guys know if I enter this. BTQ Technologies, I am personally eyeing for a 886 on this one. 0.5, 886, $5.65 if we ever get it. I know I'm a bit quick with this, guys, because I want to get to silver, tin, and platinum for Jasper before I finish. So this is platinum group metals. I know it's not platinum itself, but it looks good, right? This looks good. We've talked about this a few times. It's a nice yearly candle. You add resistance right now, of course. You're not going to jump in here. You add resistance. But you flip those yearlies into, again, you guys can draw the yearlies yourself. If you flip those yearlies into support, platinum group metals, this has a nice continuation leg in it, for sure. This is Tandem Diabetes. Yeah, that's the one. This looks insane. Take a look at this one. I was sharing this to some of my friends the other day. M shape, right? 886. Followed by another M shape. Type 2 return with an 886. Right there, in the form of a bat. Smiley face, right? If you get that pullback, it's going to be a beautiful smiley face. So what I'm hoping for at this stage is we do get that smiley face. So I'm hoping if you get, like say T1, we get that, we get smiley face, some more structure comes in, and eventually we attack like, you know, $59, $65. But keep an eye on this one, guys. I think this one looks insane. The structure, this has the potential to build some really, really nice structure. This one is Tandem, right here, TNDM. This is Tandem Diabetes Care. So keep an eye on this one, yeah? Hopefully you guys can see the structure I'm talking about. Like, you got weekly bullish dips, you got aggressive sellers not being rewarded. The recipe's there if they want to run it to the upside. The only reason you know, you can try and enter here, but I probably wouldn't unless you're like doing some sort of long-term DCA, because the downside potential is 30%, right? So you wouldn't go in with more than 25, max 30% entry based on 20/40/40 if you did that, right? So that's why I'd be patient for either that, or like, you know, you start flipping this and all of a sudden you have an area where you can put a tighter stop, so on and so forth. But otherwise, you know, hopefully we get that smiley face. That'd be amazing entry. This is silver. Hang on, guys. One sec. Someone's at the door. One sec. Sorry about that, guys. One sec. Let me take this moment to check back to chat real quick. What's this? UPS? Yeah, UPS. Insane. That was a nice play, brother. UPS. That's what's on the daily. Like, even the higher time frame has potential for UPS. It has very good potential, so that's good. Great play. Yeah, BA Ion was very, very nice. Nice movie call on this one. Hang on, I can put this here. So even the stock challenge account that we started with for call, let me put the most recent up. So this is as it stands, right? And you guys, let me put this up real quick. This is where we're currently sat. Hang on. There we go. We started this with absolutely nothing as well. So even both the crypto and the stock challenge account, we've done really well this year. I'm really happy with how it went. but that's current. Still have cash on the side as well, a couple thousand, not fully in. Um, Taking profits off buyer, right? I took some profits off because I want to be focused on a few big stocks, right? So Lemonade, we doubled. I took half out. Neo, we more than doubled. I took more than half out with Lemonade and Neo. The rest, just slowly building position cooking. My main consolidation is going to be in Rivian. So, but yeah, one sec. So yeah, silver, going back to silver, insane, right? I wish I'd noticed this particular 1.618 target sooner, right? Because I've always owned gold and silver, right? Coming from, especially, I'm not trying to say this is like a race thing or anything, but Asians, we love gold, we love silver, right? Metals, we hoard it, jewelry, even cultural dresses, everything. It's just a norm. You get married, you gift gold and silver, right? To the bride, to the groom, so on and so forth. So we've always loved gold and silver. So then that's rubbed off on me from my mum, from my grandparents, right? From my dad. So I've always owned gold and silver. I've got like a few safes across different of my properties with them in it, right? I'm not going to go deeper than that, obviously, for privacy reasons, but I've got a lot of gold and silver. That's in the form of either just little ingots or jewelry, right? Like you got some cups, you got some like, chalices, like the typical designs, right? And these are things I'm just not going to sell. Myself, no. These are things I'm going to be passing on to my kids, so on and so forth, because these hold intrinsic, even more so than Bitcoin, so on and so. These are going to be used in things, right? They're rare earth metals. But that, yeah, 1.618 target's insane, right? That M shape, right? This is the power of wave structure, especially like, you can use on the lower time frame, you can use on the higher time frame. But this is the example of a higher time frame wave structure. Look, X to A to B, that's a 422. To C, that's a 68, and to D, that is both a 2.618 and a 886, right? So SFP'd off that, up, this, another M shape, right over here. Now you didn't quite hit like an 886 or whatever, but you have a general M shape here, right? Like a bull flag, whatever you want to call it, consolidation, and then the consolidation to the vertical accumulation. And we're so used to vertical accumulation happening at the max in days. Right, in crypto, we've seen vertical accumulation in Bitcoin over the course of days. This is months, monthly. This is vertical accumulation happening in months. And then, of course, even just looking at candlesticks, you have this insane, right, hammer candle, and then that's absolutely rocketed to the upside. So 73.40. You would not be surprised if this hit. That's the primary projection of this multi-year wave structure. This is from 2008. Multi-year wave structure. Primary projection is 1.618, right? So I think silver still has more legs. I think gold still has more legs. But yeah, this is insane. Absolutely insane. And I think eventually when I close the ETH against BTC, right? Because that's on the Prime XBT account, I can trade gold and silver on Prime XBT as well. So whatever I end up closing that Prime XBT account on, I will also try to trade gold and silver with it, like when I rebalance that, basically. So it'll be like so that's this one right here, right? I think it was in the chat just above. Yeah, this account right over here. Whenever I finally close that, then I'll just rotate that into, if we, for example, start seeing distributed structure going on at the 1.618, so on and so forth, we could try and short silver, right? So on and so forth. Eventually these things, like, there's always corrective phases. There's always going to be corrective phases. So hopefully eventually we'll catch those like shorts on these as well. Gold, silver, both. So I'll be looking forward to that too. Make money both ways. Now here is Reka. This is Record Systems. I was looking at. I like looking at like just a different variety of stocks. Announces pricing of 15 million unwritten. Right, one sec. But the reason I like to look, this is on log. Support. Right, we've had that demand line hold up since 2018. This is 2022. This is 2025, and now we have supply. We're breaking out of supply. Very simple. Right, as long as you're above that top line, you wouldn't be short this, in my opinion. Like if you get below that, just get out of it until you either get back above it, or until you maybe go and, who knows, hit back down here again. Right, but right now as we speak, on the monthly even, there's your breakout, and we are currently successfully retesting our meme line all the way from 2021, 2023, right? The meme lines, the supply is being retested, and for now, buyers are stepping in. Look at the 3 months ugly. The yearly is a big nothing candle right now, but things like the 2 months, right? You can take a look. There's your breakout. The last lower high that led to the lower low has been taken out. You can see that right here. There, right? The last lower high that led to the lower low has been taken out. So we now simply just wait for a higher low to come in. And then when the higher low comes in, this will be a good bid in my opinion. One sec. So we have the golden pocket rejection for now, meaning we probably get deep retracements. So, well, actually, let's look for liquidity rates. Here, if the liquidity is successful, that'll be a good bid. If not, we get the deep retracements, and the deep retracements give us some nice targets. Here. Right, so let's see what kind of, this would be, for example, this would be nice, right? Something like this, or even just this. Support, reconfirm it to be support, send it higher perhaps. But keep an eye on this one, okay? Just do me a favor, just consider the log application of this and just understand what Record's doing. It's very interesting on log, which is why I like it. We're just looking for a higher low really. The trend shift has occurred, look. It's occurred for sure. Last lower high that led to the lower low has been taken out. We just want a higher low to come in. Record will send after that at some point. There's Netgear. I was looking at this because it completed an M shape, but no reaction off it yet. So, well, I say that 0.5. We've just about hit the 886 with daily bullish divergence. If you want to try and play a type 1, I'd do it around the 886, but give it a few more candles probably to really check. Yeah, but that's a higher low in RSI, lower low in price. Could yield a nice little move to the upside here on Netgear. I probably won't play it myself, but it's there, right? I'd play around the 886 if I was going to play this. Put the 886 down. And wait for the daily candle close before you decide you're going to enter or not. If the daily closes above the 886, you can just enter with a stop loss below the 886 or below this candle close today if you want to play it. Otherwise, you can wait for more structure before you actually enter off that. But it's a completed M shape. That's what it is. Now there is Optical Cable Corporation, and I was looking at this because of, yeah, that's it. This has insane yearly chart. If I show you guys the yearly chart for this, insane, right? Like the longest what could be deemed as accumulation. Even if you do literally just the candle closes, and this is a breakout. And the crazy thing is, if it closes like this, and if early next year we get some sort of retest into this zone, like this could very well be a very, very good entry. If the retest is successful. And of course you don't have to talk about a yearly retest. I'm talking you could have like a monthly retest or weekly retest even, right? Because if this is not successful and you get this, then guess what? You wouldn't be surprised if you attack range lows once more before going higher perhaps. So either way we have opportunity this particular area, which is why I really like this one. Looks a bit crazy but it's on log, right? This is linear here, look. But it's nicer to look at on log in my opinion. That is OCC, Optical Cable Corporation. So this is tin futures. When you asked me to look at tin, bro, Jasper, is this what you were talking about? Because I didn't know what the ticker I was meant to put in was for tin. Yeah, platinum's even scarcer than gold, yeah. Ah, okay, yeah. Right, let's look at tin. I mean, tin futures is insanely bullish, right? There you have the 3 rising valleys kind of structure, and that's led you to the upside move. I mean, if it's a long-term investment, you don't even really need charts for long-term investments. It's not like I was looking at charts when I bought gold and silver. Like I've got gold and silver that's been passed down to me. I've got some that I bought myself as well. Um, but if you wanted to TA this above 344,800 is when you get your next expansion phase. If you wanted to TA, or a good time to bid would be if you revisit 294,600 at any point. Right, that much is obvious to see right over there. Like we've had this insane 6-month range broken out. It's not like you've had a retest, so I wouldn't be surprised if you did do this at some point. Build and then send high perhaps. But there's always going to be phases, right? It's like, I mean, we were down on gold, not down, but like gold and silver weren't exactly like melting phases for a long period. The market always moves in cycles. There will be cycles for gold and silver. There'll be periods where money rotates out of them for a bit again. It's one of those ones. I probably wouldn't. If you want a technical reason to enter tin, I don't see one. In the sense that obviously I'm not going to give you an entry when we're just below resistance, right? If you want a technical reason to enter tin, you want something like a retest here now. You've got vertical accumulation, range highs, right? That's something like this, right? Range highs retested, sent higher. So here's your range highs, retested, and the retest is where I'd enter 294,600. Or you do this, you start flipping this into support, you have a reason to enter. So in terms of technical reasons, right now as we speak, there isn't a reason why you would enter tin. But in terms of higher time frame long-term investment, you think war's going to break out, you think tin's going to be scarce and scarcer and scarcer. Sometimes you don't need charts. Sometimes all you need is a bit of like, okay, well this thing's clearly being used in the world, everyone wants it, there's not enough of it, right? And in that regard, things like this you can it's never going to be for short term, unless you're trading actual perpetual contract. If you're proper tin, it's not going to be short term. So technical reason wise, either this or this, right? But in terms of like a fundamental reason, if you think this is going to get scarcer and people are going to flock to this because there's going to be a shortage and the demand's going to go up, there's really no good time in that sense to enter, right? But again, in terms of technical reasons, I'd either look for that back test or that flip into support for tin, because again you have that like 6-month range, right? You have that 6-month highs retested. Here's your highs that have not been retested yet, and that retest would be really, really nice of a yearly level and a 6-month area. So that'd be a really nice way to enter tin if they give it to us. Now platinum. If we quickly look at platinum, again, insane yearly candle. This is CFDs on platinum. Is this the proper ticker from platinum, bro, or is it to use another one? Yeah. So platinum, this one was really, really insane. I don't own any platinum. At least I'm pretty sure I don't. I think I've got like a couple chains that are platinum, like just jewelry, but nowhere near as much as I own like silver or gold. Platinum isn't really that big in. I think my mom has quite a bit of platinum. I don't. I've never bought it myself. I'll have to ask my mom how much she has. But this again, if you look at it in terms of the yearly, yeah, it's just literally just. You want a technical reason of why we went, like we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years straight of sellers trying to take control of the area they were in control of before, right? And this was back in not even 20, this is back in 1980. This is going to be crazy to put down, but this is 1980 all-time high. This is 1980 12-month seller zone mid. This is 1980 12-month seller zone low. And when I put things like this down, it makes me realize, like, this is why legacy markets are so much nicer. You have all this extra data. This is why crypto spoiled us for more volatile gains, right? Because then you end up in periods like this when no one's interested, while everything else is ripping. So that's that. And then previous cycle, let's put extra seller levels down. And just change the color of it up. Then actually, you know what? No, this is the same candle, so we'll do this. There. The reason platinum pops so hard is because this 881 to 820 pocket bias just absolutely hammered the defense there. You can see. You can literally argue for a smiley face, right? In fact, what we can do is, I should be able to, and I pray this works. Yes, there we go. Look at the data. Okay, look at the data we have going into this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? Since here, we'll focus on this first. This candle is telling us what? Obviously, buyers are in control. Nothing crazy. There was 22.1 million platinum contracts traded. 154,750 was on the aggressive buying side. And were the buyers rewarded? Yes, they were. Look at the candle, massive wick, right? Sellers tried to take control, pushed all the way down. Buyers came and ate that right back up. Both aggressive buying and passive buyers. Closed above your point of control, closed above your value area low, closed above your value area high. So not only do you have our already known 1980 yearly levels, what you notice now is, here is your value area, right there. That was the value area that was created in that move, right? So I'm going to take that value area and I'm going to extend it to the right, like this. And then I'm just going to go and color it red. Actually, no, let's make it something that stands out. Yeah, let's make it blue. There, okay. So if I turn this back off once, that is the area where we're saying all the transactions happened, right? Here. In this case, 70% of all traded volume on that candle where aggressive buyers were rewarded, the very bullish candle, happened within the rectangle. So you now have another layer of confluence as to why this is a very important level for us to hold if you want to remain bullish on platinum. On top of the fact we already have yearly levels here, right? And then what did the following candles do? You will notice, look, close above the point of control, close above, right? If I switch back to this, after that candle, we have all this, you know, obviously this was a seller control candle. We have aggressive selling going on. We have close below point of control, close below value area high, close below value area low, but that's fine because even in the face of all that aggressive selling, you didn't breach the actual area where buyers took control at the yearly level. Following candle, there were more buyers, right? Again, you closed above value area high, value area low, point of control, bullish candle. Again, more sellers. So this is pretty even, right? This is literally an example of a fair market right in front of your eyes. But now, even in the face of all that aggressive selling, we're starting to see some very interesting things. You're closing above your point of control. You're closing above your value area high, your value area low, not only for this fresh candle, but also from that previous candle, right? And then this candle tried to shake people out because you got to close below your point of control and your value area high, right? But you never lost, look, what did you never lose? That point of control right there. You never lost it. That was support this entire time. I'm just going to go and like draw a line. That point of control was support this entire time. You never lost it. Look, not a single candle body closed below. So even in the face of all that aggressive selling, that point of control held. And then come 2025, eventually, this is a textbook example, by the way, of accumulation. We are accumulating right here, right? And this is accumulation through identifying the aggressive versus passive market participants, not your traditional like structure that I identified. This is literally looking at the aggressive versus passive market participants. And so after you have all that, this is on the yearly, you can get so much more data. I could go on the 6 months, I could go to the 3 months, the monthly, so on and so forth, right? And we can't be surprised after 5 years of accumulation at yearly levels, where, again, by the way, it was once resistance, right? Resistance flipped to support, accumulated for 5 years, accumulated just below resistance. That's always bullish, right? Or that's mostly bullish rather. And then eventually I mean, you have that retest too. Even if you do that, you eventually get that breakout that we got this year. So Platinum had amazing price action, and I wish I'd actually like been paying attention to this one, because this is me looking at it and telling you now, right? But if you'd seen it live, like this would have been such an easy one to catch. But like I said, I've not never really looked at the Platinum chart properly before, so that's why I've not got any Platinum positions. Not that I took myself. So yeah, this is something I've completely missed out on, and it's what it is. I'm not going to catch everything, right? But you know, the price action, what I'm trying to show you guys is the price action was there telling us, look, this is accumulating, right? You have smiley face. The signs were there, basically. But yeah, Platinum, insane move. Would you buy this now? Again, it's hard for me to recommend buying something here, and again, that's for obvious reasons. You can see why, right? You can see why I wouldn't buy here. But again, you know, your actual reason to enter, you know, you get that easy. You know, just get back in. If I do this, then I do this. Here. So again, for a technical reason, buying here, crazy. Just because you have all this resistance in front of you now. I'd wait to see, like, you know, after this yearly close, do we see absorption? Do we see buyers being rewarded, aggressive buyers being trapped? Get that trapped, we might get a pullback, right? If you get a pullback, you could drop all the way down to 1,342 units, right, all the way down here, and you'd still be fine. So there's time, but right now I wouldn't enter. The next reason for entry would be if you actually went and flip this into support now. You go build above, right? You know, again, aggressive sellers are not rewarded at these lows, so on and so forth. Once you get bullish structure here, you'd be targeting all-time highs on Platinum. But right now, would I enter? No. If I just think about it like anything else, like any other ticker, you wouldn't enter at resistance. You'd wait for that confirmation above, right? So that confirmation above here would be very, very nice. Because you've had that retest, look, off the mid, right? That's why you've got this high. So now, like, you know, if you do the same, like somewhere around here, that's a nice leg up. If not, then eventually these bearish divergences, for example, might start playing out, right? You know, you should be seeing on a weekly basis lower highs in MACD, lower highs in RSI, right, as the price goes up. So weakness is starting to build. I mean, your monthly is fine, so I wouldn't say your move's going to peter out yet when your monthlies are literally flashing all green. You're entering the bullish control zone on the RSI, on the quarterly, for example, on the 4 months. Those look fine. So higher time frame wise, you're fine, but you might get some chop on the medium time frame, like the weekly, is what you're saying here now, right? Either the divergence plays out, or you get some sort of 3 rising valleys to break above, and if that plays out and you flip, then that'd be your next entry to try and take out all-time highs on Platinum. That's how I would play it personally, bro. Just because it's never a good idea, no matter what you're trading, to buy just below resistance, right? Just isn't. But yeah, Platinum looks insane. It's great. Price action respected. Price action correlation. Yearly levels. No wave structures needed. Nothing fancy. This is just unadulterated. Here you have your reason for why you could push a bit higher. Potential W shape. This is something else I'd be careful of. Hang on. So that's your 12 months, and just do that. Okay, so this is a W shape, as you are well aware, and this is a bearish bat, or rather you could call this a bearish Gartley. Actually, that's close enough to a 618. This is a bearish Gartley. 886 is right there, right? And if you get past this, that's when I would be thinking that you end up getting this bat. Oh no, this is bat. There. So yeah, if you can build off of the 786, if you can build off of it, all's good. So 786 plus a yearly level, like we've been talking about. That's why you be careful here, because you have a W shape that's completed. You have yearly levels. If you peter out here and your momentum dies, you can have a pullback. For example, if the yearly closes here, you will have a yearly area to consider right over here, right? Just like that. Just put it in white for now. So yeah, I would wait until like you clear this. You want some nice structure to come in here. Once you've had a big move up like this, you always want structure to be on your side before you make next decisions, because buying this isn't buying structure. This is buying green candles, right? People are going to be selling here. So I'll keep an eye on platinum, because again, just like with silver and gold, maybe eventually we get a really nice short off on this, right? And that's something I'd love to catch. Because look, when things like this, when they fall, they can fall very, very hard, right? Now we can see that. Not just platinum, gold, silver, everything, they can fall very, very hard. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But again, it's one of those things, right, bro? It's like, if you don't want a technical reason, you just want to hold this till like the end of times, right? You want this to pass on to your kids, so on and so forth. It's not going to matter where you buy, because you're not looking for an expected return. You're just holding this because you understand that these are things in finite supply. Demand for them is always going to be there, and it's going to hedge against the debasement of your fiat currency, right? And if you understand that, and you understand this is not something you're looking to trade to make profit on, it doesn't matter when you buy it. You just want to have some. But now, if platinum isn't that for you, and you do have an expected return on this, if you have an expected return, that means you also got something to risk. And in terms of buying this here, if you want an expected return, what's your expected return? Well, in terms of data on the chart, there's not much, but you're approaching resistance, you're approaching W-shaped completions. So you actually have things against you if you're looking for expected return to the upside, right? So if you're looking with an expected return in mind, then I wouldn't enter right now until I get more confirmation telling you, okay, we might break all-time highs, okay, we're turning this into resistance, we might raid all-time highs, so on and so forth. That's the way I think about it. I have no idea whether to call this a bubble or not, bro. I feel like I'm not really well versed enough in like the macro sort of economic intricacies behind all of these, right? Because I can think of this like, oh, it's a hedge against inflation, and it's a hedge against like a monetary debasement, but so is Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? And Bitcoin's not holding up well. So just because it's a hedge against something doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to do well. Everything will work in cycles. Now, whether it's a bubble or not, I have no idea. I couldn't answer that one to you. But I feel like people with power have the means to accumulate whatever they want, right? If they've, for example, if someone with power has been accumulating this, right? If for example, the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds have been accumulating a shit ton of platinum since 1970s, and they decide all of a sudden, okay, we've had a really, really nice run on this. It's gone from 99 to 2000, right? We're gonna start selling some, and maybe we'll buy back in the future. It's up to the people with the supply, what they would do, what they want, right? For us people here, we're just looking to like get a piece of the pie. There's not much we can do at all. So I don't know whether to call this a bubble or not. Like, it could keep going up, but I doubt it. I doubt it's going to keep going up. From my experience, everything works in cycles. The trend is ultimately going to be to the upside, unless we have some sort of like society ending, like cataclysmic apocalypse, or World War III breaks out and all the platinum mines start getting destroyed and it's got no use. Even in that, you could argue it's going to go even higher because of the scarcity. But with that in mind, I feel like everything has a cycle. Everything. There's going to be moments where money's rotating into an asset. There's going to be moments where money's rotating out of an asset, right? It's like a game of musical chairs. So eventually I do expect a drawdown, yes. It might be after we hit new highs. It might be before we hit new highs again and we consolidate over a larger wave structure and then we break out, 2030, whatever, who knows, right? That's something we're just going to have to take on the chin as it comes, right? There's no point trying to predict otherwise. It's just a waste of time and energy. Yeah. Yeah, for sure, bro. For sure. Because it's not like it loses like a shit ton of its value either whenever it does drop relative. Like, I'm used to like crypto drops, right? We're used to like things going down 99% in 15 minutes. So yeah, it's better to like on the long term of things, like these minor moves we're seeing now, it's going to be exactly what it is, minor moves. The overall trend in my opinion is still going to be to the upside. So but yeah, that's tin, that's platinum. Yeah, I've had no play in platinum. I wish I was looking at this because the price action there would have been something I would absolutely cream over, but it's what it is. I'll keep an eye on this now once the move's up, and if I see weakness building here over time, I'll look for potential shorts on these. Doesn't have to be big shorts, but there's money to be made, even from, for example, like 1911 to like 1435, right? That'd still be like a nice move to catch there with a if you manage to put some size behind it. So, and I feel like a safer move as well. These things don't have erratic movements. But yeah, so that's platinum and a few others I was looking at. One of them is this. This is the tick I asked you guys about in stocks chat. Okay, this one is called Colgate Palmolive Company. This is CL, and the reason I like it is obviously, first of all, before everyone I pull any of these up, if you just look at the overall chart, it's obviously very, very bullish, right? If you take a look, it's been on the move to the upside. Now, one could argue this is not a good place to buy in terms of where we are on the chart, and that's fine. That's completely valid, right? But locally speaking, like if you're focusing on the general trend, it's not the worst area either. But more than that, you're not thinking about, if I enter here, I'm not thinking about I'm going to hold this to 180 or whatever, right? The trend is your friend. The trend is to the upside for now. The bottom of the trend has been hit. So that's number one. Number two, wave structure. Always, you need a framework. The framework for this is very, very clean. You have a Gartley, 786 and a 1.618 right here, which you already hit. If you decide to have one more drop for one more low, you have a deep Gartley 886 potential as well, right, all the way down over here. You also have ABCD 1.618 that's hit. Not only that, but you have a smiley face, right? You have a smiley face. So a cumulative structure, we know the lows of the trend has been hit, we know wave structures have been completed. This is not prediction, this is completed wave structures. These have hit now, and buyers have shown they're willing to take control here, right? Now, if I was to pay attention to the footprint charts, again, footprint charts tell us a really, really nice story. Look, it's absorption, right? You're at the initial low, there's, just classic price action, nothing crazy happening. Then you have this massive red. All these aggressive longers come in to defend this area, close of up point of controls. So the raid is successful with aggressive buyers rewarded, i.e. sellers are trapped. Anyone who shorted is trapped, right? And then you back test the level, more aggressive sellers than buyers, and yet a green candle, close of up point of control, close of a value area high, close of a value area low. So now there's trapped traders, aggressive sellers here. They're trapped on the buyer side. And now this initiation candle, look, is green, aggressive traders, they're being rewarded, right? So locally speaking, price action is insane here. It's very, very bullish. It's bullish price action. Like the monthly candle, insane. Aggressive sellers, and look how we're closing, right? Sellers are trapped. Look at that. And of course the monthly hasn't closed over 15 days, but if it closes like that, that'd be an insane monthly candle. So this could very easily have a pop-up towards this, and if it decides the trend's not over, we're still bullish. Again, at the end of the day, the moves to the upside, watch this say, we definitely can't get to 130 one day, right? Now, would I enter right here? No. Again, I wouldn't enter right here because of this, right? You want this to be support now. So if I go back to this, right, if you can go and flip this into support like this, that would be my entry. Why? Because again, look where we are. Even though the wave structure is completed there, there's 2 yearly levels right at this area. This rejected us before. So you flip that into support, you have an easy entry on Colgate-Palmolive. 3823 first target. If you get above that, 61866. Above that, you know, you've some yearly levels to contend with. Ultimately, if you go to price discovery, you wouldn't be surprised with 130 as a target. This is a bit ambitious for now, right? So again, just play it like, you know, zone by zone, target by target. So your first zone is obviously right over here. There's your first zone. You're just going to consider this area between 84 to 87, right? And you see does any weakness come in? Is aggressive sellers rewarded or aggressive buyers rewarded? Is anyone trapped? So on and so forth. There's also the highs to run. If you flip it into support, your next area is going to be here, right, above this yearly level. And then same thing, right? Rinse and repeat your way up all the way to all-time highs and potentially beyond. But this is the one I asked you guys to share what you have in crypto chat. Sorry, in stocks chat. This one looks good. This one looks very good. This is CL. This is Colgate-Palmolive Company. I think it looks really good. Now, a few others I was eyeing. Yeah, this one is sort of just a compression structure we've got going on. If you can see, right over here. You flip that into support. KMK looks good too. You'd be running it basically to, well, you could just draw a supply line and take it to supply line, right? The macro chart itself isn't the nicest. It's just been like, you know, grinding down, but it's more so the compression here, right? If you can flip that into support, even if you've got a potential for a nice move up, just this low into support. Here, you could just do this. There. So if you do this, and you know, one thing you could do is literally just this. If you wanted to sort of take like a breakaway attempt at a play, that'd be something you could do. Or if you wanted like higher time frame confidence in this, you'd wait for this, right? You can see what happens. You'd wait for something like this, flip, and then turn this area into support, and then you'd enter. But no matter what, you can see the benefits of getting above this level. You have all of this liquidity to target to the upside if you get above it. So there's another one for you guys, right? Yeah, there's loads of opportunity, you know, and that's why it's paramount you look at different markets. You don't just trade one. It's like I got you guys into stocks when it was the right time, right? Even if crypto's boring right now, there's nothing to be done on crypto unless you're scalping. There's still loads to be in stocks. We're up huge on stocks. If you're in metals, you're up in metals, right? Like, but different markets are going to crash liquidities at different times. It's not always just going to be everything's going up at once. So it's good to diversify for that very reason. Which is why I made it a point to make separate challenge accounts for CFD. ETH against BTC would come under CFD in this case. Normal crypto and stocks in this case. We have 3 different challenge accounts, right? Clover, above that mid, I'm interested. Below that mid, I'm interested in 195 or a flip of 275. Just yearly levels again. Now here's another one. This is IQ. This is, just look at it. Look at where it is, right? Look at that macro chart. You look at it on log if you need. Look where you are. This sort of reminds me of Fresh, right? It's just at the gutter prices, and potential for big ass smiley here if it holds. You could do it 2 ways. You could either just do a very tight entry here like this, right? With 50% entry and 50% if you flip this back into support, trendline breakout, so on and so forth. Or you could try and play the whole range for a bit wider, 23%, but use DCA slowly over time. No matter how you do it, your first target is going to be the supply line. If you break above that, $5.80. If you break above that, but then you're talking like, you know, $10 targets, another 2x from there. So another, you got opportunities, right? There's opportunities everywhere, bro. That's IQ. Insane opportunity here where we currently are. So that's IQ. ODV, this is, yeah, I was looking at this because it was sort of rounding, but you'd have a potential play at the bottom of the box. That's what I was looking at, from $3.80 to around $5 basically, and then potentially to 6. So like a close enough to like a two. It's like a 70% move, like 55, yeah. If you break inside there, that's the range you have you can play with. But only once you break inside. You're not breaking inside right now, so that's peak. USO is another one that completed a M shape, but no follow through. So I think this bleeds a bit more. No strength coming in here. Peabody Energy Corporation. It looks like it's bull flagging, to be honest. That is an insane chart. One sec. I hate this though, because there's, what do I select, what do I not select, right? Right, well that looks to be selected, that's fine. Yep, that looks good. 6 month agrees, that's fine. I think of that, just do it based on the 6 month and the yearly. Perfect. In fact, do that. There. I mean, that was a good entry on this one. Bull flagging above this. The reason for your rejection is, of course, right here. So you either basically enter this if you manage to rate these lows and you like sort of play back into the range, you hit the low, the mid, the low, the high. Those are the 3 levels you're interested in for this range. Or you wait until you go and flip this into support, because if you flip 29.08 into support, you go to 33, 37. But yeah, guys, loads of opportunities here, right? Who cares? Crypto's not doing anything, bro. Like, we made our money when everything went up. Unless you're actively scalping now, there's not much to do. So just wait until liquidity pours in again, and then you can, have fun with crypto. Until then, go where there's liquidity, bro. It's in metals, it's in stocks, right? We've seen that. So there's a lot of new stocks we've been over today. Tandem's a good one. IQ was a good one. CL was a good one. On top of the ones we're already in. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Keep an eye on UPS. Like I said, the rest of the week I'm going to be very, very busy for the launch of the second restaurant. So I'm going to be pretty quiet in terms of my activity. If you guys ping me, like, I'll get back to you when I see it. But if something crazy happens, or you guys need me for something, just ping me, and then I'll get back to you guys when I see it. Yeah. But I need to get some sleep, guys, ready for tomorrow. Gotta have an early start. But yeah, thank you guys for your time. I'll end this recording here. It was meant to be a quick